No one told you the truth about suffering. Since you were little, you learned that the goal of life is to avoid it, that the goal is to reach a safe, comfortable, stable place, a place where things hurt less, where the risk is lower, where you can breathe without the feeling that something could collapse at any moment. And you spent years, maybe decades, making decisions based on this principle. Avoiding what scares you, bypassing what costs you, choosing the path that promised less pain in the short term. And it worked in a way. You built a life that doesn't hurt much, a manageable, predictable life within what you can control. But at some point, and almost everyone reaches this point, you look at this life and realize that it is too safe, that the absence of pain is also the absence of depth, that you protected yourself so much from suffering that you also protected yourself from everything that suffering produces when gone through with purpose, growth, identity, meaning, the real feeling of being alive. Because here is what no one tells you. Suffering is not optional. It is not a variable that you can eliminate by making the right choices. It is a constant of human existence. And the only real decision you have is not between suffering or not suffering. It is between what kind of suffering you will choose. The suffering of effort, of discipline, of building, which hurts in the process, but delivers something real at the end. Or the suffering of stagnation, of regret, of the awareness that you had more to give and didn't, which doesn't hurt acutely in the moment, but corrodes slowly for years without warning and without an expiration date. Both hurt, but only one of them builds something. Think of a heavy training day, the kind of day where the body resists from the start, where every part of you wants to be somewhere else, where the effort seems disproportionate to what you are getting back in that moment. This suffering is real. It isn't whining, it isn't an exaggeration. It exists and it's heavy, but it has a characteristic that differentiates it from any other type of pain. It is productive. Every second of it is building something. It is breaking a barrier, expanding a limit, depositing a thin layer of capability over all previous layers. You don't feel it at the time, but it is happening. Now think of the opposite suffering, the suffering of knowing that you could have gone and didn't, of reaching the end of a week, a month, a year, and realizing that you stayed in the same place, not because the world stopped you, but because you chose comfort repeatedly, time after time, until the accumulation of those small choices became the large result of a life that isn't the one you wanted. This suffering has no expiration date. It doesn't have the relief of knowing that you are building something. It doesn't have the reward that comes after. It is just weight, the weight of everything that could have existed and didn't. And the cruelty is that this second type of suffering is what most people choose without realizing they are choosing it. Because at the moment of decision, the suffering of effort is present and immediate, and the suffering of regret is distant and abstract. The brain is much better at processing what hurts now than what will hurt later. So you do the math wrong. You avoid the present pain without accounting for the future pain. And in the long run, you pay a much higher price than you would have paid if you had simply pushed through the discomfort when it appeared. The person who understands this changes their relationship with effort in a fundamental way. They stop seeing the suffering of the process as something to be minimized and start seeing it as something to be directed. The question stops being, how do I avoid this? And becomes, is this building me up or tearing me down? Because not just any suffering is worth it, it is suffering with purpose, with direction, with a clear reason to exist. The suffering you chose because what is on the other side justifies the price. You embrace this kind of suffering, not because you like pain, but because you understand what it is doing for you while it happens. And when you change this relationship, something unexpected happens. Effort starts to look different, not easier, different. The exhaustion is still there, the resistance is still there, the days when you don't want to do it are still there. But they stop being enemies and become evidence. Evidence that you are in the process, that you are paying the right price, that every day you choose productive suffering instead of empty comfort. You are distancing yourself from the version of you who will look back with regret and getting closer to the version who will look back with pride. This is one of the most important distinctions that exist between the people who get where they want to go and those who stay where they are. It's not talent, it's not luck, it's not access to resources that others don't have. It is the ability to consciously choose the right suffering, to say yes to the discomfort of growth and no to the comfort of stagnation repeatedly on ordinary days without an audience, without applause, without any guarantee that it will be worth it beyond your own conviction that it will, because conviction comes before proof. You cannot wait to be certain that it will be worth it to then decide that it is. Certainty does not exist before the process. It exists after, when you look back and see what was built. Before that, there is only the choice to believe that the suffering you are embracing today is building something that hasn't appeared yet, but that will appear. Because that is how everything real and lasting works. So the next time effort appears and the instinct is to retreat, remember this. Remember that you are going to suffer either way. That pain is not avoidable, it is only directable, and that the only question that matters in that moment is the same as always. Is this suffering building me up? Or am I suffering for not building anything? You are going to suffer either way. The difference is whether you will suffer to build or suffer for not having built.